In this podcast episode, Boris Johnson, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, reflects on his experiences and insights regarding international relations, particularly concerning Russia and Ukraine, as well as domestic issues like immigration and climate policy. Johnson begins by recounting his one-on-one conversations with Vladimir Putin, describing them as incredibly depressing. He emphasizes the irrationality of Putin's assertions regarding Ukraine as a threat to Russia, noting that there was no realistic chance of Ukraine joining NATO at the time of the invasion. Johnson expresses his frustration with the failure of Western leaders to deter Putin's aggressive actions, which he views as self-destructive and rooted in a desire to restore Russian influence. He elaborates on Putin's motivations, suggesting that the Russian leader aimed to galvanize public support through nationalism and to rebuild the Soviet Empire. Johnson believes that Putin miscalculated the invasion's outcome, expecting a swift victory that would bolster his standing domestically and internationally. Instead, the war has proven to be costly and damaging for Russia. Johnson discusses the West's response to the Ukraine crisis, highlighting the need for a clear strategy to support Ukraine. He expresses disappointment in the lack of a cohesive plan and the hesitance to provide adequate military support initially. He argues that the West's failure to act decisively allowed Putin to escalate his aggression. Johnson emphasizes the importance of providing Ukraine with the necessary resources to defend itself, asserting that the West must not shy away from supporting Ukraine in its fight for sovereignty. He also addresses the narrative that the West provoked Putin, dismissing it as nonsense. Johnson argues that the real threat to Russia was not Ukraine's potential NATO membership, but rather Putin's own ambitions and the historical context of Russian nationalism. Shifting to domestic matters, Johnson reflects on the implications of Brexit, particularly regarding immigration. He acknowledges that many voters supported Brexit as a means to regain control over immigration policies. However, he points out that the reality of immigration numbers post-Brexit has been complicated. Johnson defends the government's handling of immigration, attributing the influx of people to exceptional circumstances, such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the need for workers in various sectors. He emphasizes that the government had legal control over immigration and that the numbers were influenced by various factors, including the return of students and the arrival of refugees from Ukraine and Afghanistan. Johnson argues that the government should have continued with the Rwanda policy, which aimed to deter illegal immigration, and that the failure to do so has led to a perception of lost control. On the topic of climate policy, Johnson discusses his evolving views on net zero. Initially skeptical, he became convinced of the need for action after witnessing the environmental impact of human activity during his time as mayor of London. He argues that investing in clean technology is essential for the future, despite the challenges and costs associated with the transition. Johnson acknowledges the difficulties faced by the UK in achieving its climate goals, particularly regarding energy prices and the reliance on hydrocarbons. He advocates for a balanced approach that includes nuclear energy as part of the solution while recognizing the need for immediate action to address energy security. As the conversation progresses, Johnson reflects on the current political landscape in the UK, expressing concern about the direction of the Conservative Party and the need for strong leadership. He emphasizes the importance of maintaining a robust stance on immigration and national security, arguing that the party must regain the trust of voters who feel let down by recent developments. Johnson concludes by reiterating his commitment to supporting Ukraine and advocating for a strong, independent Britain that can navigate the complexities of global politics while addressing domestic challenges. He remains optimistic about the potential for a free and sovereign Ukraine, emphasizing that the fight for democracy and self-determination is far from over.